Welcome to the deep dive. We're plunging right into AstraZeneca's latest numbers today.
That's right, the half-year and second quarter results for 2025, plus their investor webcast.
Our mission, as always, is to cut through the jargon
Yep, pull out the key financials, the pipeline news,
and really give you a clear picture of what's driving this pharma giant.
and what it means for the future of medicine, because that's the exciting part.
The big picture seems to be strong growth, lots of pipeline wins.
Absolutely. They're pushing towards that huge $80 billion revenue goal for 2030.
An ambitious target.
Definitely. So we'll unpack the numbers, the strategy, the trial results that back it all up.
Okay, let's anchor ourselves in those financials first. How's their pulse looking?
Pretty strong, I'd say. Overall performance is robust.
Go on.
Well, total revenue for the first half of 2025, up 11%.
11%.
Reaching just over $28 billion.
Wow, and that's broken down how?
Product sales climbed 10%, which is solid, but alliance revenue really surged,
How much?
up 38%. Huge jump.
What's behind that?
It's mainly the shared profits from big hitters like Enhertu, Tezspire, and Beyfortus.
Right, those partnerships paying off. And what about profitability, the bottom line?
Also looking good. Core earnings per share EPS that grew 17% in the first half
17% too.
to $4.66. And that really shows good operating leverage.
Meaning they're growing revenue faster than costs.
Exactly. More efficient growth. We also saw double-digit growth in both oncology and biopharma.
Okay. And geographically.
Strong across the board, really. The U.S. was up 12%, and emerging markets, excluding China, really stood out, up 19%.
Impressive. Any news for investors directly? Dividends.
Yep, they bumped the interim dividend up 3% to $1.03.
Okay. So looking forward then, what's the guidance for the rest of 2025?
They're sticking to their full-year guidance.
Which is?
A high single-digit percentage increase in total revenue
Okay.
and a low double-digit percentage increase in core EPS. So still expecting strong growth.
But are there any headwinds they're flagging?
Yes, they did mention an anticipated dip in gross margin for the second half.
Why is that?
A few things converging. The Medicare Part D redesign in the U.S. is one factor.
Right.
Also, more competition from Soliris biosimilars hitting the market, and increased profit sharing on some of those partnered products we mentioned. Plus, seasonal stuff like Flumis sales patterns.
Got it. How about cash flow?
Very healthy. Net cash flow from operations was up 27% in the first half.
27%.
Yeah, reached $7.1 billion. Strong position.
And what are they doing with that cash? Investing back?
Big time. Capital expenditure is set to jump 50% this year.
50%? That's huge.
It is. They've already spent $1.3 billion year to date. It's all going into manufacturing upgrades, new tech, building for the future.
Which leads us nicely into their strategic vision, that $80 billion goal by 2030. How confident are they?
They sound very confident. They talk about significant de-risking of projects.
Meaning the pipeline's looking more certain, less speculative.
Yeah. Exactly. Positive trial data turning potential into, well, more likely reality.
Yeah.
And it's not just 2030. They're focused on growth beyond that
How so?
by investing heavily in what they call transformative technologies, game changers.
And a huge chunk of that investment is happening right here in the U.S., isn't it?
It really is. That $50 billion pledge for U.S. manufacturing and R&D by 2030 is massive.
$50 billion.
And the centerpiece is this new multi-billion-dollar plant in Virginia.
Their biggest ever manufacturing investment.
That's what they're saying. And it's got a specific focus.
Which is this?
Drug substances for their weight management and metabolic portfolio.
Okay, so things like oral GLP-1s, Baxdrostat.
Exactly. Oral GLP-1, Baxdrostat, oral PCSK9, combination small molecules. It's a big bet on that whole area.
Can you just quickly explain why an oral GLP-1 or PCSK9 is such a potential game changer?
Sure. Well, GLP-1s are super effective for diabetes and weight loss, but they're typically injectables.
Right, like Ozempic or Wegovy.
Yeah, exactly. So an effective pill version. That's huge for patient convenience, access, adherence.
Makes sense. Less hassle than injections.
For sure. Same idea for PCSK9. Inhibitors, these dramatically lower bad cholesterol, but again, usually injected. An oral option would be revolutionary for heart health management.
Okay, that really highlights the significance of that Virginia plant. What about the broader R&D picture? Pipeline momentum.
It's been really impressive lately. 19 regulatory approvals in key markets just since February.
19, wow.
And 12 positive phase 3 readouts announced just this year.
Phase 3, so late-stage trials.
That's right. Crucial results. And 5 of those were for brand new molecular entities. first pivotal data.
What kind of potential revenue are we talking about from those readouts?
On a risk-adjusted basis, they estimate those 2025 Phase 3 successes could bring in over $10 billion in peak sales.
10 billion just from this year's readout.
Potential, yes.
Yes.
Shows the strength. And they're speeding up trials, too, over 56,000 patients enrolled by Q2.
That's a huge number of people involved. And they're pushing into new tech, too, you mentioned.
Definitely. Big investments in things like IO bispecifics.
Antibodies targeting two things at once.
You got it. And their own in-house ADCs, antibody-drug conjugates.
Like targeted chemo missiles.
That's a great analogy. Delivering the drug right to the cancer cell. They're also big on cell therapy, radioconjugates.
And the overall ambition there is?
Pretty bold.
Yeah.
They want to eventually replace traditional chemotherapy.
The fundamental shift. Okay, let's see how this translates into performance. Oncology and hematology up 16% in the first half, almost $12 billion. What's driving that?
Tagrisso is a key player. Delivered 12% growth in Q2.
Still strong then.
Yeah, and the FLAURA2 data, Tagrisso plus chemo, showed positive overall survival. Really cements its place in first-line EGFR lung cancer. Strong demand everywhere.
And Imfinzi, that's been getting a lot of buzz.
Imfinzi grew 26% in Q2. Really strong.
Why the surge?
It's the rapid uptake of new regimens. In lung cancer, from the Adriatic and AGENT trials, and in bladder cancer, from the Niagara study. Plus, the Matterhorn study in gastric cancer looks promising, got priority review from the FDA.
So potential blockbuster across multiple cancers.
That's the potential, yes. Moving into earlier stages of treatment, too.
Now, in HER2's growth, 42% in Q2. That's just phenomenal. What's happening there?
It's maintaining clear leadership in HER2 positive and HER2 low metastatic breast cancer.
And the trial data keeps coming.
Absolutely. DESTINY-Breast09 showed progression-free survival over 3 years in first-line HER2 plus disease. Incredible result.
3 years.
And DESTINY-Breast11 showed benefits in early breast cancer, too. Plus, they got breakthrough therapy designation for SERETA-6 and DESTINY-Breast09.
So what's the bigger picture takeaway from Enhertu and these ADC successes?
I think it highlights that shift we talked about, moving treatments earlier, aiming for cures, not just management.
Right.
And these novel mechanisms like ADCs are really starting to transform how we even think about treating cancer, maximizing that chance for a cure right at the start.
A really powerful change. What about other key oncology drugs? Calquence, Lynparzo?
Calquence is holding its own as a leading BTK inhibitor, grew 10% in Q2. Good uptake in new patients and first-line mantle cell lymphoma after the ECHO approval. The fixed-duration AMP-IFI-Y regimen looks promising, too.
And Lynparzo.
Still the leading PRP inhibitor globally, grew 11% in Q2, solid performance.
And Trucop saw massive percentage growth.
Yeah, 84% in Q2. That's driven by demand in specific biomarker-positive patients, finding its niche.
Okay, let's switch to biopharmaceuticals. That was up 10% overall in the first half, over $11 billion, starting with CVRM cardiorenal metabolism.
Right. CVRM grew 7% in H1. Farxiga continues its strong run, up 10% in Q2.
Driven by heart failure and kidney disease.
Primarily, yes. Now, it is expected to face some impact from that volume-based procurement VBP in China later this year.
The price negotiation thing.
Right. But they actually think it might lead to broader use there overall, despite the price pressure.
Interesting. And Baxdrostat, we mentioned the plant, but how's the science looking?
Very positive.
Yeah.
Phase 3 results from BaxHTN and resistant hypertension were good.
Remind us why Baxdrostat is a big deal.
It's a potential first-in-class aldosterone synthase inhibitor. Basically blocks a hormone that raises blood pressure.
Okay.
And there hasn't been a new mechanism for resistant hypertension in like 2 decades.
Yeah.
So huge unmet need. It's a totally new approach.
So more trials ongoing.
Yep, looking at 24-hour control, combinations with dapagliflozin for kidney disease and heart failure.
Yeah.
Lots happening.
And glaucoma.
Impressive growth there, too, 27% in Q2, leading potassium binder. Definite blockbuster potential.
So the takeaway for CVRM is this focus on interconnected diseases.
Absolutely. They're looking beyond just the heart or just the kidneys or just metabolism. They see how linked these are and are targeting that interplay. Broader patient impact.
Makes sense. How about respiratory and immunology, R&I, up 13%?
Breztri is flying fastest growing in its class. Might even expand into asthma after positive trials.
Okay.
Tezspire grew a massive 65% in Q2, leading new biologic for asthma. And it's up for approval for nasal polyps, too. Solid 18% growth in Q2. Gaining share in severe eosinophilic asthma and good results in hypereosinophilic syndrome.
Safinello for lupus.
Also strong 48% growth in Q2. Good demand and positive data specifically in Asian patients too.
And Airsupra, the newer one.
Strong launch in the U.S. And the Beatura trial showed it cut severe exacerbations in mild asthma by nearly half. Really promising.
Okay, finally, rare disease. Back to growth, up 7% in Q2, over $4.3 billion revenue. What's the story there?
Well, Ultomiris is the growth engine now, up 23% in Q2.
Driven by.
Demand across its indications, like gMG myasthenia gravis and PNH. Patients are switching over.
Which explains the decline in Soliris.
Exactly. Successful conversion to the newer drug, Ultomiris, plus some biosimilar pressure starting in Europe. It's expected.
Any new breakthroughs in rare disease?
Yes, quite a bit. Ufirlimab had positive phase 3 results for gMG.
What's special about that one?
Potential for once-weekly subcutaneous delivery self-administered. Much more convenient.
Big improvement for patients.
Definitely. And then there's anselamimab for light chain amyloidosis.
That one didn't quite hit its main goal.
Not in the overall population, no. But in a pre-specified subgroup, it showed a highly clinically meaningful improvement in survival and hospitalization.
Why is that still significant?
Because it's the first phase 3 trial to directly target the amyloid fibrils causing the damage. It's a proof of concept, even with mixed results overall. A big step.
And there was regulatory news, too, the Orphan Cures Act.
Yes, AstraZeneca was instrumental in getting that updated. It broadens the protection for orphan drugs from Medicare price negotiation.
Which is important for
ensuring continued investment in rare disease treatments. Seen as a big win for patients and for protecting their rare disease portfolio.
Are there other new rare disease drugs coming soon?
Expecting readouts later this year for Ultomiris and another indication, HTTMA, and for esfen's-footazelfa.
Esfen's-footazelfa.
It's a next-gen enzyme replacement therapy. Could be huge, potentially $3 to $5 billion in peak sales.
So for you listening, the interesting thing here is seeing how they manage that transition, right? From older drugs like Soliris to the newer ones like Ultomiris and these pipeline candidates.
Exactly. Especially in a competitive field with regulations always shifting. It's a real balancing act.
Okay, let's shift to operations and the outlook. R&D spending is obviously high, but is it efficient?
Well, core R&D costs were up 17% in the first half, hitting 23% of total revenue.
Why the increase?
Mainly that accelerated clinical trial recruitment we talked about, plus the big investments in new tech.
Is that level sustainable?
They expect R&D costs to stay in the low 20s% range long term. So yeah, it's a sustained commitment.
And what about the other side? Sales, general, admin costs SG&A?
They're managing that very tightly. Core SG&A only increased 3% in the first half.
Much lower than revenue growth.
Way lower. They're finding efficiencies, resource redeployment, shared services, using digital and AI smartly, growing efficiently.
They also have those market challenges. Medicare Part D, China VBP. How are they navigating those?
Yeah, those are definitely factors. The Medicare changes did hit U.S. growth for drugs like Tagrisso and Calquence a bit.
Offset somehow.
Partly, yeah. Fewer patients needing free drug assistance, lower abandonment rates, so more patients actually starting and staying on therapy helps balance it out.
And China VBP for Farxiga.
Expected revenue hit in H2, like we said. But they also see an opportunity. This idea of consumerization, direct-to-patient sales might open up broader access.
And they're still dealing with patent fights.
Oh, yeah. Ongoing litigation for Forxiga, Lynparza, Tagrisso, Soliris, plus the IRA legal challenges are still rumbling on.
So the takeaway is they're not just scientists. They're actively managing a complex global business.
Absolutely. Adapting to different markets, regulations, financial pressures. It's a constant process.
And quickly, on sustainability, it seems to be more than just a buzzword for them.
It really does. Their updated strategy covers climate, nature, health equity, system resilience.
Any specific examples?
Sure. They're developing a near-zero GWP propellant for inhalers like Breztri. That's a big environmental win. Their partnership using AI with Quare.ai to screen chest X-rays for lung cancer already assessed 5 million scans. That's health equity in action.
Wow.
And they co-founded a partnership for health system sustainability. They're getting recognized, too, top sustainable company by Time, supply chain kudos from Gartner. It seems integral.
This has been incredibly insightful. It's clear AstraZeneca isn't just growing, they're really accelerating.
Yeah, the pipeline is firing, the strategic investments are ambitious, and they really are aiming to reshape medical practice.
That long-term vision is striking, investing in tech to potentially replace chemo, creating oral drugs for chronic conditions.
It's about tackling huge global health challenges in new ways.
Which brings us to a final thought for you, our listener. We've heard about these incredible innovations potentially displacing old treatments, offering convenient pills for things like hypertension and weight management. As this pace of innovation skyrockets, how do we ensure everyone gets access?
Right. How can healthcare systems worldwide make these transformative, sometimes chronic, treatments both equitable and affordable.
Something important to consider as we watch this next wave of medicine unfold.